Right. You're welcome to today's class. Today we are going to discuss object. Having discussed the other data types in our previous classes, like the string, number, boolean, null, undefined, symbol, and big int. Today we want to look at objects in JavaScript. First of all, what is an object? In programming and computer science, object is a value in memory, which is referenced by an identifier. That is, in the computer, the value in your memory that is being referenced by an identifier is known as an object. In JavaScript, objects are the only mutable values. Just like the other data types, objects are variable too. While the others can contain a single value, like name equals John Doe, objects can contain many values. The code will create a person variable and assign values like John. So let's create a person object and assign different values like John, AF for name, age, and others. So this is how we create a variable in JavaScript, an object in JavaScript. First of all, we can create an object using object literal. Object literal, and that is the example we are going to do today right now. Yeah, using object literal. And how do we do that? Let's say we call the const person, want to create a person object, and then we use the object literal symbol, which is the opening and closing bracket. Everything in between this opening and the closing bracket are properties of the object person that we are creating. And then we want the person to have a name, and then we say the name of this person should be John. And it should also, this object should also have an age, and then the age of John Doe is 30, and it should also have like states. We want to know where is he living, and then let's say it's in Lagos, Nigeria. And we also have another property we want to add, like the gender. Yeah, let's add gender, and then we say John Doe is a male. The gender is male. Now, unlike the other data variables we'll be creating, here in this case, the person object doesn't just have a single value. It has different values like name, age, state, and gender. These are the properties of the person object we created. And this leads us to discussing something about object properties. Object properties are always in the key value pair arrangement. You have something on the left separated by a column and then the value on the right. What is on your left is usually the key, and what is on the right is usually the value. So in this case, we have name on the left separated by column and John Doe at the right, which is the value that is going to be inside this name. So this is a name property in the person object called name, and the value of the name is John Doe. The same goes for the age, state, and the others, and whatever property you want to add to the person object. Now, how do you assess the value in an object? Now, let's look at it this way. This person have about 4 property. Now we want to assess the value of name. What is a name in this person? Like, it's just like asking what is the name of this person. Okay, and how we can do that in JavaScript, we have 2 ways we can assess the properties of an object, and one of them is using the dot operator, using the dot, using dot, not on operator, using dot, just like this, and it is property, is it, yeah, object name dot property name. And then the second way is using, what is it, brackets, using brackets, just like this. And example is We have object name, then bracket in quotes, property name. This is another way we can access the properties, the values of an object. So let's say in this case, we want to know what is in name. So what we can do is to say person dot name. And this is going to return for us the value in name, which is John Doe, which is John Doe. This is what you're going to get when you access the person name using the dot operator. Then the second way is using the brackets. So what we do instead of the dot, we just put person brackets name, and that is it. It's also going to return John Doe. Yeah, it's going to return John Doe. So in this case, you see that both of them return the exact same value. Let me show what we are talking about here. Let me just run this with live server so we can see our code live. I think I have this open some time ago. Okay. So let me just refresh this and clear our console. All right. So let me just go back to our data type JS and let me write this code now. Okay, this is our person object. So let me copy this and bring it outside so that we can have it in our code base and not in a comment. Okay, now I've created a person object, an object called person. Let me make this lower cases and not uppercase, name age, then have states and gender. So in this case, if we accessing the properties of an object, which we just did here. So let me copy this. Okay, let's see. Let's first of all log our object. Let's see what is in our object. You say person object. And then we have person. Okay, let me save. Now you look at on our console, you are seeing the person object. You see the age, you see the gender, you see the name, you see the state. Unlike other variables that we create, if you just create the name of the person and say John Doe, you say John Doe. If we log the name, say name, you're just going to see John Doe. Yeah, say name is John Doe, but in this case, the object is giving us the possibility of creating a variable that has different values. So instead of creating a variable called name, we create another one called age, we create another one called state. An object will give us the possibility of combining all these variables into one single variable, and that is a person. So we say the person object has different properties, and these properties are just like individual variables we could have created differently. But in this case, we use the object to group them together. Okay, let's look at something else again about object called object methods. Let's look at object methods. Yeah, object methods. So what is a method? A method is also a property of an object. In our example of a person, we can we can create a method that will be executed. We can call on the person to perform some certain actions, and methods are usually functions. And in an object, we can create a method also, like we created the other properties like name. But instead of returning just a value, when we call when we accept the property, like we access object person.name, when we can then execute run some code by creating a function. Say for example, we want to create something like person dot get age string. yeah, with this function get age string, let's just create it inside this function object, say get age string. Then we'll still use our column to separate this property from the value of the property, which is a function called get a string, and we do this. Okay, so for example, we want to return, let's say John is 30 years. We want to add years to it instead of just returning 30. What we can do is to say, let's just say if this dot age is greater than 1, you want to know if it is greater than 1 so that we can pluralize the age. Then we can return age, yeah, still age, this dot age, and then we concatenate years. Concatenate years to it. And otherwise, we return this dot age plus year. So if we come here now, if you look at the properties of this object, the getAge function is not there. If we open it, you will see the function definition or the properties. You will see that it's a function, it's a prototype constructor F, showing to us that this is a function. Now let's see, we want to process that function. So let's just say console.log, and then we say age string, and then we'll call our person dot get its string. Okay. Now, in assessing the function, if we just call it like this, the way we call the other properties, it will not be executed. Rather, what you are going to see is the function signature. That is everything that is written in between the opening and closing bracket in the function. This opening and closing bracket, that is the function signature. All this is what will be displayed for us. But in order to execute this function, what we have to do is to put the opening and closing brackets just the way we define it, function, put opening and closing bracket. That way, JavaScript will execute it immediately and return the result of processing this function for us instead of returning the function signature. So let's see it again, and you can see age string is 30 years because age actually is greater than 1 because it's 30, so it's returning this for us. If we come back here and say that age is 1 and save it again, what you're going to see is age string is 1 year. Okay, so that is about function method. A method in the function can be called in order to process, a method in an object can be called in order to process the data either in the object or even the data that are outside the object. And mark, for example, we introduce a new keyword here called this. And this in JavaScript is usually used to refer to the parent of the function. In a function, when you use this, you are referring to the parent of the function. Whatever object or class that is holding this function is going to be referenced with this. If we remove this from this age is not reachable. Age does not exist because age is existing in the person object, not in the getAge string function. So if we run our code, we are going to see an error saying age is not defined because at this point, age is not known. If we want to access this age in the person, object, we then need to include this dot age. If we declare age here and say age is 1, age is going to be recognized because age is in the function. But if we don't have anything age defined in the function, then it becomes an error without referencing this before calling the age, since age is in the person object and not in the getString function. Okay, that is it about our function object today. We have been able to explain what an object is and been able to run some example of an object and been able to also manipulate object. Everything is created function using object literal. Now we are going to create function using, we are going to create object using function. So how do we do this? Okay, let's just create the person object again. It's a function. Okay, let's create a different object. It's a function product, and we have name. We have name, price. Then we have color. We have brand. Then we have, let's say, size. And remember, in programming, name, price, color, brand, size are always known as function parameters. When you want to call the product function, you will need to supply these parameters in order for you to be able to use it and create the function. So what do we do here now? We say this dot name equals name. What this means is we are creating now a property of this object called name, and we are assigning the value to the name that the person who will be using this function will supply to us. And then we say this dot price is also equals the price the person will supply. We say this dot color equals to the color the person will also supply. And then this dot brand will be the brand that will be also supplied. And we say this dot size will be equals the size that will also be supplied to us. So now we've created an object called product using a function constructor. And in order to create this function object now, an object from this function, what we are going to do now is to utilize the to initialize it using the what is it called, the function, the new keyword, which is usually used to initialize function variables like this. So what we are going to do now is let's say const product1 equals new product. Okay, let me make this an uppercase so it really makes more sense. Functions are mostly represented with constructor functions are mostly represented like this. So let's say we now have the name of the product, and we want to call it shirt. Then we say the price is let's say 300, and then the color is red. This is a string. And then we say brand is Adidas. Okay, let's use a goosey. And then let's say the what again, size. Size is SL, extra large. Okay. Now, if we log our product one, we see that it will be all the properties we have assigned to this will all be available in the product one variable, which is an object variable. So we say product one and save. Now look at our console, we say product one, and look at what is showing, the product, and these are the values we supplied. Okay, so this is how you create an object using the object constructor. In this case, you can as well add functions the way we added in the other case, like the guest age string. So like here, we can then say create a function called, let's call this format price, and then we say, and we return it this way. You can then say price return, let's say $sign plus price. Remember, we need to use this dot price. If we use this price, we are referencing the one that is supplied by the user, but we have to use the one that is already in the in our object property, which is by using this. So what we are going to do now here, let's just say we are returning product price, and then we say format price. We are calling the format price function. Okay, so format price is not a function. I think I'm doing something wrong here. Oh shit. This is what I'm supposed to do. Format this dot format price equals function. Okay. So format price now is a product, it is a property of our object. So you can see that we have been able to format our price by including a function called format price in the person function, in the product function. So you can create functions inside your product function constructor, in any object constructor you're creating. You can create function there to format your data, manipulate your data the way you want. So whatever you want, you can add using the object literal. When you use the function, you can equally add those things. Okay, let's look at how we can delete the property of an object. To delete an object property, you use the delete keyword, delete, and you put the object name, delete object name dot property name. So for example, in our what is it, the first person object we created, let's delete the state. So we can delete the state using this, then person dot state. So now when we log our object after the deleter has taken place, you will see that state will no longer be part of the property. Oh, this is error, spelling error. So let's see. Now let's look at the first person object that is created. We have state in the property. This is it. We have state and it's Lagos. Now if you look at the last person property created, there is no state. Look at this. You have name, age. After age, the first one what we have is state. But now after age, you have gender. State has been automatically removed by executing the delete. So this is how you remove properties from an object when you do not want it. And let's also look at how you can change the value of a property in an object. So let's look at, for example, we want to change the name of the person. What we can do is the syntax is object name dot property name equals new value. If it is a string, you encode it with a quote also. You just wrap it with a string, and if it is a number, you just put the normal number there. So let's say, for example, we want to change the name. What we can do now is a person dot name equals Mark Twain. Now, if we log here now, we log our person object, we're going to see that person is no longer John Doe, but the name now is Mark Twain. Okay, so let's look at it. Now, if you look at our name here now, is Mark Twain. It's no longer John Doe, but in the other ones, you see our object name, a name of the person is John Doe. So this is how you can alter the value of a property of an object. You remember, we created our person as const, and I've told you earlier that a const is used to create a variable that you do not expect the value to change. But because an object can hold multiple values, you cannot recreate the object, but you can change the values of the properties of the object. We can't do anything like a person equals new object like this. We are going to have an error saying that the constant variables, we cannot alter it. But yeah, we can then change the values in the object properties of the object. So this is one unique difference between object and normal other data type. So you can alter the properties values in an object, but you cannot alter, even if it's defined as a const, but you cannot alter that of a const variable. This is one unique difference between object and normal variables. Okay, let's continue looping through let's enumerating the properties. Let's look at enumerating properties of an object. So to enumerate is to list. How do we list the properties of an object? Well, there is two ways. We can use the for in loops to do that. We can use the built-in object function called object.keys, and then you put the object name here. This is the first way we are going to do that with. We say one, and then the second way we do it using the built-in function and get the keys or the properties of the object without their value. So let's see the first one. What is the difference between these two approaches? The first one, you are going to get all the properties of the object. You can equally get all the properties that are within the prototype chain. These ones, you didn't define them. So let's look at it, for example, for, let's say, P in person, and we say console log our P. Okay, let's see this, and you see it's bringing for us name, age, gender, and age. And what is the last one? Okay, so but the other one we are going to look at is the built-in function in the object constructor. So when we call object.keys, and then we put the name of our object, like in this case, we want to see that of the person, and let's say we'll call this keys const person props equals object.keys. So when we log person props, you're going to see all the keys will be available, all the properties will be available in an array form. So you look at how it is. You now see all of them listed in an array. We're going to treat array later in our class as we proceed. So this is a way you can get the properties. What about getting the values? There is also an input function in the object used to get values. Getting values of object properties. Okay, so what is the function? It is object.values. Object.values, and then you put the object name just like that of the key. You should say person. So if we come here and say const values equals this, and then let's log the value, say log this person values, and then we say values. Here, when you look at it, we're also going to see an array with 4 properties: mark, 20, 30, male, and the function. Remember, the value of the get of the function in the person format, get its string is a function. So that is also what you're going to get. You're not going to get it executed because it's a function. It will be returned as a function signature. But if you execute the function, right, the way we did before, I think here you will get the value. But when you are accessing it through object.keys, the function value that will be returned is just the function. So that is how you can access the values of an object as a list. There are instances where this will be very helpful in your software development career. I remember a certain time I wanted to create a dynamic list view, and what I don't know, in a case I just want the list view to be able to create a table like presentation of your data, irrespective of the data you pass to it. So that means I wouldn't know what the columns in the data you are bringing, the names of those field, the properties of the object are. So I just use object.keys to extract the keys of the first object that is all in that list of objects, and then display the data that the list of those objects, and all of them mapped very well. But in case when those objects are not consistent, it will be wrongly represented. So that is only helpful when the list is a list of unique or identical objects, like that of person. Say every person have these properties that are in this person, and you can use that to create a dynamic list, and then you can use the pass car to that same function or that same view, and it will be rendered the list of cars. So that is one area I have utilized. That is when we have utilized the object.keys to create a dynamic list view. Okay, let's look at getters and setters in a function and object. Setters and getters. So what is a setter? A setter is a function that you use to add properties, add value to the property of an object. You can use it to alter the existing property or to add one that that doesn't have a value, or you can alter existing values. And a getter, in the other hand, is a function that returns existing value of a property. So let's see what we can do in our person object. We can say okay, let's use product so that we can work on this, something like discount. So product one dot get discount equals function return product one dot price times 100. Okay, 10%, 110 over 100. So we're saying that the discount is 10%. So here now, let's see console.log discount. Then we say product one dot get discount. Okay, let's execute, and then you see our discount is 30. 10% of 300 is 30. Now there's something unique you should notice here. The get discount was not defined in the object before, so we are just adding this new property get discount as a function in the product object. So this, you can add a new property like this, like I told you, and you can also go to the product constructor and then create get discount, and then you say is equals a function. Then you write the code there. Then you can return, when we return, say this dot price times 10 over 100. So if we come back here now and comment this, say yeah, no, and still run, we are still going to get our 30 because we've gone back to the original definition of our product function and added the function get discount. But you can equally add a new property by just doing the dot. You can also use the other bracket annotation, but mostly whichever one you do, you'll be able to add the new property, whether a normal property or a function, a method in the object. So that is it about getter. So let's create that of setter, and let's say we want to change our price. So let's say we create product one dot change price equals a function, and then put the new price. The new price now should be 400, and just say price. We put the 400 when we are calling it. So what we can do now is say product one dot price equals our new price. Now, if we log here now, okay, let's just leave this and then you log this. You see that our discount is not going to be 40. Oh, sorry, I haven't called change price. So let's say product one dot change price, and then I put 400. Our price is now 400. Then we'll save this and look at our console. Our new discount is now 40 and not 30. That is showing that our new price is now 400. And this is a setter because we are using it to add or to change existing property. We can equally use